This is a long story, and I'm going to try to condense it. I've spoken about it before in a different post on my profile if you want more details. In the past, I've spoken about wanting to do one of those ancestry and DNA at-home tests. But my parents, or who I thought were my parents, were always against them. They told me because they don't trust those companies with your DNA. But I obviously know the real reason now. A while ago, my cousin and I decided to buy a test each, and I completed mine in secret. I was shocked when not only did I not match with him when we got the results, I didn't match with anyone who shared a surname with any of my family, except for some matches that shared my dad's surname. But this is an extremely common surname in my country. Think Smith for the USA. I thought perhaps the test was faulty or wrong, but after some researching, I had my doubts that the test was faulty. But just in case, I decided to do a second test with a different company, just in case the first one was somehow wrong. This time I bought 3 tests. One I gave to my paternal uncle. He's actually only a few years older than me, despite being my uncle. And the one I gave to my maternal cousin, and the last one I did myself. We sent them all off, and we got our results surprisingly quickly, about 10 days after we sent them off, yesterday night. But these tests confirmed my suspicions. I'm not related to my family. And even more, I matched with a woman, 49.8% DNA match, predicted parent-child. Looked on her profile, and she was born in 1991, meaning she would have been 15/16-ish when I was born. She hasn't been active on the app for over 6 months. I've written out messages to her to send and then deleted them. I've contemplated just saying hello, but haven't had the courage to actually send it off. I also could just turn off matches and make my profile invisible. That way she wouldn't see me if she logged back in again. I could pretend she doesn't exist and that I never found this out. I have another mom out there that I know nothing about. It makes me feel so anxiously curious. My parents never told me I was adopted. I feel utterly betrayed by them. I've resisted the urge to confront them about it since I got the results back from the first test. But now I know for certain, I just want to smash my fists into a wall. I want to scream at them. I hate that they've kept this from me for my entire life. Now, the only people who know I know is my uncle and my cousin. I trust that they won't say anything to anyone until I've spoken to people about it. I feel so lost and confused. Should I message my biological mom or pretend she doesn't exist and turn my profile invisible from her? TLDR, discovered I'm adopted via DNA kit, matched with biological mom, unsure whether to message or ignore. Feeling betrayed by adoptive parents, uncertain about confronting them, feeling lost and conflicted. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I can't tell you what to do, but I can tell you a story of fallout that can't be fixed. My stupid father and stepmother adopted a child when I was 19. My sister was an infant and so lovely. As she grew up to say 14, she still loved to dress up in my stepmother's incredible closet and wardrobe. She stumbled upon a shoebox, thinking they were Dior platforms, and my sister's a titchy 5'2". To her surprise, the box didn't have shoes in it. It had hundreds of letters from her birth mom, wishing her well and wanting to stay in contact. My parents, out of their own blatant stupidity and insecurity, hid these from my sister. Days later, my parents recognized that she had pulled out all of her eyelashes. In a month, it was her eyebrows, then actual hair. I will never forgive them for that, and neither will she. Think about consequences and trustworthiness. Be careful where you place that trustworthiness. Comment 2. Without writing a novel to tell you my story, the TLDR is that I took an Ancestry DNA test and discovered my biological father. I thought my dad died when I was a baby, so this was a shock. After a lot of deliberation and stress, I reached out to him. He didn't know I existed. That was about 6 years ago, and we have a wonderful relationship now. I am closer to him, his wife, and my newfound extended family than I am to my mom. He is a wonderful grandpa to my 3-year-old. I am so happy that I found him and made contact. I'm blessed to have him in my life. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions or want to talk through anything with someone who has been there. Wishing you all the best, no matter what you decide to do. Now, for the update. Thanks for sticking around for more of this mess. So, After finding out I was adopted, things just spiraled. I decided to confront my parents. I needed answers. I sat them down and laid out the DNA results. The look on their faces was like they'd seen a ghost. They tried to explain, saying they wanted to protect me, that they loved me as their own. But the lies, the deceit, it was too much. I stormed out feeling like I didn't even know who I was anymore. The next day, my uncle called. He was freaking out because my cousin, the one who knew about the DNA tests, had gone off the rails. He'd taken the family car, crashed it, and got arrested. My uncle was begging for help, but I was so wrapped up in my own drama, I just couldn't deal with his too. I told him he was on his own. Harsh, I know, but I had my own world falling apart. Then, as if things couldn't get any worse, my phone buzzed. It was a notification from the DNA testing site. My biological mom had logged in and seen the match. She messaged me. My heart was racing as I read her words. She was sorry, so sorry. She'd been young, scared, and alone. She thought she was doing what was best for me by giving me up. I was torn. Part of me wanted to scream at her, to unleash all the anger and confusion I felt, but another part of me was just tired. Tired of the anger, the betrayal, the lies. I didn't reply. Instead, I did something I never thought I'd do. I turned off the matches and made my profile invisible. I just couldn't open that door. Not yet. Maybe not ever. My parents tried to reach out, but I couldn't face them. I needed space, time to process everything. I stayed with a friend for a few days, ignoring calls and texts. I felt alone, but at the same time, I needed that isolation to sort through the chaos in my head. After a few days of silence, I went back home. My parents were waiting, looking like they hadn't slept in days. We talked, really talked, for the first time in what felt like forever. They told me about the day they brought me home, how they'd always seen me as their child, no different from any other. They apologized for not telling me sooner, for not giving me the choice to know. I didn't forgive them, not completely. That would take time, maybe a lot of it. But I did start to understand a little. They were flawed, human. They'd made a decision they thought was right at the time. It didn't excuse the lies, but it did explain them. As for my cousin, he's out on bail now. My uncle's handling it, but the whole thing's a mess. The car's totaled and there's legal trouble brewing. I feel for my uncle, but I've got enough on my plate. I can't fix everyone else's problems when I'm still trying to figure out my own. So here I am, stuck in the middle of a life I never knew was a lie. I've got a biological mom out there somewhere and a family that's more complicated than I ever imagined. I'm not sure where I go from here, but I do know one thing. I'm done with secrets. From now on, I'm living my life with my eyes wide open, no matter how painful the truth might be. Thanks for reading. Am I the idiot for staying with my boyfriend? After he admitted he's just using me, I've been with my boyfriend for about a year. I was so happy, and maybe I was too oblivious. But I really didn't think there were any problems with our relationship or what he thought of me. I loved him, and I thought he did too. We could have spent more time together looking back, but I really like having time and space to myself. I'd still see him every few days, we still spent plenty of time together, but maybe it wasn't enough. I also didn't sleep with him a lot, but it's not like I said no all the time. It was just that sometimes I was tired or feeling sick or sore or didn't feel like it. I was going to be staying at his house, but I wasn't feeling very well. He had a couple of friends coming over anyway, so I just said I'd go home. He told me to stay and that they'd be quiet and I could sleep. I think it was probably because he wanted to sleep with me later in the evening. I didn't really want to stay anymore, but I did anyway. I don't really know why. His room was down the other end of his home, and they were quite quiet, so I fell asleep easily. I'm normally a very heavy sleeper, and he knows that. It takes a lot to wake me up. But because I think I was getting sick, although I didn't realize at the time, I woke up with a bad headache, so I was going to get some medication. I probably shouldn't have been listening in, but I heard my name, and I didn't think it would be that wrong to. I heard one of his friends asking why he even keeps me around, and he said that it looks better to girls if you've been in a relationship with a girl that lasted, and it will be much easier to find a new girl, even though I'm really boring, brainless, and badly spoiled, and that he thought it would be easier having someone around that will get into his bed whenever he wants, except he thinks that I'm really lazy and can't be bothered most of the time. It made him really annoyed because She used to be such an intimacy worker when she was younger. And that was one of the reasons why he got in a relationship with me in the first place. One of his friends said he should just shove it in there until she's crying and then she'll stop saying no. And the worst part was, he thought it was really funny. I felt sick and wanted to cry. I pretended to be asleep when he came in, and then I left as soon as I could the next morning. But I also had a fever, so I think he thought that was what was wrong. I don't know what to do. I loved him so much and still do. But I don't think he even likes me that much. I had a bit of a problematic time when I was a bit younger for a couple of years, but now I know that's one of the reasons he even dated me in the first place. I don't think anyone would love me. And if he doesn't love me, he pretends to really well, and it makes me really happy. I didn't think anyone would love me that much, other than my friends. I told one of them, and she thinks I need to break up with him, but I don't know. It's all so confusing. I just want to cry, and I can't think straight. Also, English isn't my very first language, so I'm sorry if I wrote anything wrong. I can clarify anything if I need to. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. You've seen his true colors. He's admitted to his friends that he's been using you and doesn't really love you at all. Your friend is right and she is trying to protect you. There's no fixing this. You know the truth, and now you have it, and the only option is to walk away if you have any self-respect. I know this answer may be harsh, but that is when they say that the truth hurts. Staying would only make it harder, and you'll end up getting hurt even more. Best to pull out the needle before it sticks in any deeper. Comment 2. To be honest, when I've gone through phones, etc., and I don't even look for cheating, but rather what the person was saying about me to friends and family. That has much more of an impact on me than anything else. I'm sorry this happened, and you deserve way better love. Don't feel guilty for listening. Everything happens for a reason, and he obviously didn't care enough to speak on you while you were in the house. Now, for the update, thanks for all the comments on my last post. So, a lot has happened in the past 3 days. I thought things couldn't get worse, but they did. I was still reeling from what I overheard my boyfriend say about me when I decided to confront him. I needed answers, but I wasn't ready for what came next. I went to his place, my heart pounding out of my chest. I told him what I heard, and he didn't even deny it. Instead, he laughed, said it was just guy talk, that I shouldn't take it seriously. But how could I not? His words cut deeper than any knife. I felt betrayed, but part of me still clung to the hope that he cared for me, that we could fix this. Then his phone buzzed. A message popped up, and I saw it. It was from another girl, and it was clear they'd been seeing each other. My world crumbled right there. I was angry, hurt, and I wanted to scream, but I didn't. I just walked out without another word. I spent the next day at my friend's house, trying to make sense of it all. She was furious on my behalf, kept saying I deserved better. But in my head, I kept making excuses for him. Maybe it was a one-time thing. Maybe he really did love me. I was a mess, torn between anger and a desperate need for his affection. The day after, I got a call from him. He was crying, begging for forgiveness, said it was a mistake, that he didn't mean to hurt me. He promised to cut all ties with the other girl. I wanted to hang up, to tell him it was over, but I couldn't. Despite everything, I still loved him. I agreed to meet him. We sat in the park, the same place where we had our first date. He was all apologies, saying he'd do anything to make it up to me. I looked into his eyes, searching for a hint of the love I once saw. But all I found was desperation. He needed me to forgive him, not because he loved me, but because he couldn't handle the guilt. I should have been furious, should have told him off, but instead I forgave him. I told him we could try to work things out. I saw the relief in his eyes, but it didn't reach his heart. I felt weak, like I was betraying myself. But the thought of being alone, of not having him in my life, scared me more than staying with someone who didn't truly love me. That night I went home feeling like I'd made a mistake, but I was too afraid to be alone, too afraid to start over. I know my friends think I'm being foolish, and maybe I am. But for now, I'm sticking with my decision, even if it makes me look desperate. Thanks for reading. Am I the idiot for considering moving to Germany with my partner after his dad, who once hated me, suddenly wants us close? Normally, we're not together as a family for birthdays because they live in Germany and we live in Canada. This time, however, It's his father's big 70, and we happened to be in Germany for a wedding around that time, making it very easy for us to attend his birthday while we're there. For context, we are a common law union who have been together for 5 years. A couple of years ago, his dad basically said that he hates my guts. This was a total shock because we had no indication anything was amiss. My partner 100% stood by me, and when he pressed his dad about why he hates me, he straight up refused to say. For years now, we have just put up with awkward family gatherings and accepted it won't get better. For the birthday, my partner's mom is planning a surprise party over the weekend at a lake house. She's invited my partner, their other son plus his wife, and their 2 small children. I am not invited because she knows her husband hates me, even though her and I get along. While I don't want to be excluded from family events, I understand that it's his birthday, and he should be able to spend it with who he wants. I certainly don't want to go anywhere I'm not invited either. My partner hates how his family is excluding me, yet he's not comfortable with missing his father's birthday because if he doesn't go, it could be catastrophic for their relationship. The brother thinks their father would cut my partner out of his life entirely, and we agree that is a real possibility. The man has no friends, and he has already cut nearly everyone out of his life, including his sister, his secret daughter, who is not a secret anymore, a story of its own, his grandson, his brother-in-laws, his sister-in-law, and his nieces and nephews. The only few who remain are his wife, his 2 sons, and his daughter-in-law. In the scenario where my partner does attend the party, he would be taking a step toward his dad in an attempt to foster their relationship. I would make the most of it and just do touristy things by myself in Germany. My partner wants to think that it would be just this once, but you could equally argue that other situations will arise because we didn't nip this in the bud. In fact, a similar situation is already playing out right now because his parents are looking at flights to come and visit us. I must use us in quotations because his family has indicated that his father will only come on the condition that there is some time for just the core family that is excluding me. They didn't indicate what the specific expectation was in terms of how much time he expects it to just be the 3 of them. Luckily for everyone, they have decided to come when I'm out of town anyways, so they don't have to see me at all. While I am trying to be understanding, it's very difficult. I want to support my partner. He is very loving and we have a wonderful and fulfilling relationship. I don't want his relationship with his father to go up in smoke. But in principle, I think it's shitty that his family thinks it's acceptable to exclude me without even telling me what's wrong or giving me a chance to right any wrongdoing I may have done to make him hate me. If my partner doesn't go, I can see his family blaming me. But if he does go, he is condoning their treatment of me. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I may be going against the grain, but I think your spouse should not go and be vocal about it. It's not okay under almost any circumstances for your in-laws to not invite you, period. The only scenario I could accept is if you did something really horrible to your husband's parents and they cut you out. But I hate her is not a reason to not invite the second half of a couple, in my opinion. I think that by going along with this craziness, your partner is condoning the behavior. There's no relationship to try and salvage here. Your partner's father is a terrible person. If you're not comfortable making this an issue, then by all means, book yourself some fun things to do in Germany. Comment 2. So basically, your partner has to toe a line to have a superficial relationship with his dad, as his dad will not hesitate to cut him out of his life. At this point, you both have to decide if this is a relationship he wants to maintain or just drop the rope. If he wants to maintain the relationship, basically, he has to give in to his father's absolute disrespect of you at all levels, including when they are visiting you at your home and want you out of the way. This is a decision that needs to be made by your partner, and you have to decide if you can live with it. The precedent has already been set by his father. He does not want you as part of the family. By the way, what a nasty, nasty man. Now for the update. Thanks for the comments on my last update. Well, the week was, interesting to say the least. The surprise party for my partner's dad was set, and my partner was torn about going. But then, his brother called with news that floored us both. Apparently, their mom had been having an affair for years, and it was with none other than my partner's dad's best friend, who had been cut out of their lives recently. The reason? He knew too much and threatened to spill the beans. The betrayal hit everyone like a ton of bricks. My partner's dad was devastated, and in a weird twist, he suddenly wanted me at the birthday gathering. He said he needed all the support he could get. So I went. It was awkward, but I was there for my partner. During the weekend, his dad opened up about his past mistakes, how he had pushed people away, and how he regretted it. It was a moment of vulnerability that I never expected from him. My partner was hopeful this was a turning point. But then, his mom dropped another surprise. She was leaving his dad, taking half of everything, and moving in with her lover. The family was in shambles. My partner's dad, now alone, clung to the idea of family more than ever. He apologized to me, said he was wrong to judge me without knowing me, and asked if we could start over. I was skeptical, but my partner was over the moon. He believed this was the fresh start they needed. In the aftermath, my partner's brother decided to take a step back from the family drama. He and his wife were expecting another child and didn't want the toxicity around their kids. My partner became the de facto support for his dad, who was trying to navigate single life after decades of marriage. Then, as if we hadn't had enough, the next shock came. My partner's dad had a will, and in it, he'd left everything to his core family, which surprisingly now included me. But there was a catch. He wanted us to move to Germany to be close to him. My partner was ecstatic, seeing it as a chance to rebuild his family. I was hesitant, but didn't want to be the one to shatter his newfound hope. So, we're now considering a move to Germany, a place I never imagined living. My partner sees it as a new beginning, a way to mend fences and build a future. I'm trying to be supportive, but deep down, I'm worried. I can't shake the feeling that we're walking into a trap, that his dad's sudden change of heart is just another manipulation. But for now, I'm going along with it, trying to be the partner my other half needs in this tumultuous time. Thanks for reading. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.